After last meeting, I felt compelled to make a statement. And what I want to say is that the way you're conducting yourselves in this chamber is hurting Clark, and I'd like you to stop. I've been hoping we'd move beyond the bad behavior of the past so we could address other issues affecting Clark, but Mr. Miniti's disrespectful and unprofessional outburst, among other things from last meeting, makes it clear that the same pattern of hostility towards the public is going to continue. Despite what you think, I don't like coming here. I don't like figuring out childcare and missing bedtime with my kids to come here. I'm here because your actions created a big problem over the last few years, and I'm worried about our community's future. When you act the way you do, you intimidate our community. When I come here and ask reasonable questions politely and they receive sarcastic answers, not only does that demean your position, it scares away people from public dialogue. Because it's not about me, really. It's about the message it sends to the person who's not standing up here, who might have something to say, but maybe they're a bit nervous. It makes other residents retreat from participating in our government. When this chamber hurls vulgar insults and aggression, it creates fear in our residents because they ask themselves, if they're that hostile publicly, what might they do privately? What if I make myself a target if I speak up? When I criticize pilot agreements that add burden to our schools and to our residential taxpayers, you invent some narrative that I'm insulting the teachers. I'm the one trying to help the teachers. I want higher salaries and more resources. You're the ones making the bad deals. I'm the one saying, stop, don't do that. And that makes people not want to speak up, because what if you twist their words like that too? You say you're transparent, but you're not. There's very little information available online except for what's legally required. Nearly everything else needs to be done with an Oprah request, but what do you do when people use an Oprah request? You shame them. You love to bring up one Oprah request I made over a year ago. You say you can't imagine what I wanted all that info for, except it was the former mayor right here in this chamber who said we should look and see that Clark's tax appeals were 2 or 3 times higher before he was in office. So I did. Since he was in office for 25 years, you have to go back a long way. I emailed the business administrator before I did and asked him if he could verify the mayor's claim. He told me to do an Oprah request, so I did. Then on multiple occasions, you try to publicly shame me for exercising my legal right to access information about the town and for verifying if what's said in this chamber is actually true. When you do that, it hurts transparency in the government. Now, people who might want to do an Oprah request are going to worry about whether they might be asking for too much information. Will they be shamed? How much is too much? This makes people scared to ask questions. You'll say that you're obeying the law, but what I'd like to say is that obeying the law should be the minimum standard, not the only standard. It might be legal to pass a 30-year tax break for developers in a special meeting instead of the regular meeting and not have an official video recording, but it isn't transparent. It might be legal to pass our $33 million town budget without making a presentation to the residents, but it's not transparent. You're so quick to condemn me for asking questions and raising issues, but you don't seem to condemn bad behavior like the crimes and misconduct of the previous mayor. You stay silent when we need you to speak up. You didn't speak up when we lost our police chief. You didn't speak up when we lost control of our police department. You didn't speak up when our mayor got convicted. You appointed a purchasing agent with a history of conflict of interest violations, and you didn't say anything when this fact was brought up. You didn't say anything when the last mayor was abusive to the public, and you don't say anything now that the tradition continues with Mr. Miniti. When you tell me I should move out because I criticize your decisions, not only are you being ridiculous, you're being un-American. Because here in America, the very First Amendment says we have the God-given right to petition our government with grievances. So if you have a problem with that, maybe I'm not the one who needs to think about moving. I'd also like to remind you that you represent the residents of Clark. You're not actually the town of Clark. Criticizing your leadership is not criticizing the town of Clark. Clark's our home. This is where we live. It isn't a shield for you to hide behind when you get called out. So if you really want to get rid of me, don't yell. Do your jobs better. Show us we can trust you, and I'll happily spend these evenings with my family instead of here asking for accountability. Thank you.